This is Sundar Brown, Hoyler Gracie Black Belt. I'm rolling with my friend Chris at the end of Chris's private lesson. I'm going to grab the knee here and just move him to the side. I want to see how he reacts, and he pulls the guard, which is a nice response to being taken down. My job here is to model the proper Jiu-Jitsu response at every step of the training. So I immediately move to a classic Elio Gracie pass because he left the legs open. And Chris did something interesting here by hooking my left leg. Not an effective movement, but a bit of a roadblock, an attempt to disbalance because of a lack of information. And when he lets go, I immediately sit to the mounted position. Chris did a beautiful job here of immediately trapping, moving the head out of the way, bumping and rolling. Not quite the hip motion I wanted from him, but enough that since he mimicked the movement, we allowed the rollover. Now he moves immediately into Elio's classic pass, which he's modeling because he is imitating what he just saw from me, and we also just studied this. But he gave up too early, so I simply moved to the side to take away the leverage. I'm moving into a sitting guard position here, and when he pushes me back, I'm going to start putting the right hand in the collar. This is partially a frame and partially half a choke. There we wanted to do a little back training, so when he moved to the other side, I let him roll me over, but without allowing him to actually pass the guard because the pass wasn't done correctly. We've just worked recently on how to posture and start to set the hooks from the back, how to hold the collar, even moving into the halagio choke, and he's looking for that position now, but I'm keeping my elbows tight and the hooks blocked, so he rolls me over to the side. And because we didn't train much from here, he doesn't know what to do, so I immediately push back on him until I can roll. And then I'm going to reverse the position and start stuffing his collar. We didn't work very many defenses here, so he doesn't have too much of a plan. When I sit him down, I walk to the other side because he stayed on that side. And I'm going to just keep him snug as I pass over the head for eventually what's going to become a belly down armbar. We let that go so that we can continue to work. There I did a classic escape from the turtle where I just stretched the rear leg, the close leg rather, and set back down into the guard. Again, you can see the hand goes right to the collar. The hand being in the collar is always there because it allows for half a choke to be set, and if the person puts too much pressure, I can also lift the elbow and lift his chin and misdirect his head. Now you see Chris is fighting for posture here, which is very nice, but he's starting to muscle the guard pass, and that's not what I want to see. I want to see that he responds technically. And because he's not responding technically, I'm making the leg a little heavy, I'm moving my hips, and I'm making it more difficult for him to pass. The moment he shows me that he's going to switch to the technical pass, that's when I'll let him pass the guard. There he tried to muscle me very strongly, and again he threw me over. I didn't allow the pass. We simply went to a turtle position. We're playing around here a little bit. I'm letting him mount, and as he mounts, because he didn't set the mount position, I shoved him into the half guard and then replaced the guard with a basic elbow escape to the opposite side. Now he's already increasing the intensity. You can see that by his movement, and he knows that hand on the collar is a threat, so he's holding on to it with his right hand. But it's not doing much because he's forgetting that he has to keep posture. You see his hips are far back and his shoulders are in front and his head is down, and he's not walking himself back and putting the hips forward and sitting the knees forward so that he has the posture necessary to pass the guard. And because this has gone on long enough here, I'm going to switch to the cross collar choke, or what Elio calls the front choke, and just finish here so we can restart. Now that big deep breath he just took at the end, that's a strong indication to me that he's not relaxing enough. One of the things that the less experienced jiu-jitsu players can gain from watching these videos, especially when they're rolling with a very experienced person, is the level of relaxation the experienced person is able to exhibit, and the level of either frustration or fatigue or shortness of breath that the inexperienced person is demonstrating. So in this instance, that was only 4.5 minutes of rolling, and Chris has already lost his breath very much. He's trying very hard, and that's commendable, but I'd like to see more relaxation and more technique, and this is a way that he's going to have to learn to fight so that in a true situation he would be able to conserve his energy and fight properly. You see the face he's making there just from the frame. Very effective that I just lift the elbow if he comes too close and not allow his body to follow his head by placing the head in an opposite direction. The idea with Chris here was to start at sort of the white belt level of rolling, and then with each tap or with each restart, escalate the rolling to the next level. So I wouldn't specifically say that we're only rolling at the blue belt level now, but we're certainly not just rolling at the entry level anymore. I'm starting to put a little more pressure on him. Not literally. You see, even with my foot on the ground there, the knee and the belly is not as heavy as it could be, as if I would lift my foot and drive with my right leg. But I'm going to make things a little bit more difficult for him now because I want to see him work. I also want to push the limits of the frustration that he may be feeling so that he eventually learns to rely on technique. Chris is a much bigger, stronger guy than I am. If it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't have a chance against him in an actual fight. Beautiful right there. He immediately makes the frame. It shows me that he's thinking about the technique. He traps the hand, and he's trapping the foot. He moves the head out of the way, but when he rolls, because I want to increase the difficulty here, I stop the upa, and I go directly to the back. I did that because initially the problem with his first upa, even though I let him have it in the beginning of the tape, and he was technically correct in his motion, was that he didn't lift the hips enough. And sure enough, in that instance, he didn't lift the hips again, and the result was that I was able to open the knees and let him roll so that I almost took his back. To finish taking the back, I held the collar and sat to the other side, and that pressure pulled him over. And now we're going to finish here with a simple choke from behind. You see he slaps the mat hard. To me, that's an indication that the frustration is mounting, and you see him also nodding his head here, which means he knows that he was caught, but he didn't know how to stop it. And that's okay, because in the beginning, the white belt's primary focus should be survival, which means developing his or her defensive attributes. Chris is breathing very hard here. I can hear the audio of him huffing and puffing, and again, it's an indication that he's working very strongly. There we start to smile because he just let out a huge belch. Everyone in the room, we were laughing, and after he belched, he said, "Oh, you choked that out of me." So you see, it's important to also have a really good time. Even though we're training and the pressure's on and it's going to get even worse in just a couple seconds here when he finishes tying his belt, we're having fun with each other and we're respecting each other as training partners. Little handshake to remind us of that. I immediately move in now because it's time to escalate to the next level. I put the hand directly in the collar. I hold the sleeve. This is just a facsimile of the same type of judo takedown I do from the feet. Tilt him to one side because I saw his head cross the center line. Knee in the belly, half a mount, and then right to the mount and immediately to the armbar. Now here he's going to take the head out from under the leg, which is a great response, the perfect response initially, but I want to make things difficult, and I want to see, besides him taking the leg off the head, is he going to straighten the right leg, scoot the hips away from me and turn into me so he can drop the elbow down below my navel and start to extract the arm safely. He didn't do that. He's simply holding on, and he's hoping that his strength alone is going to stop the armbar, and that's not going to work. You see the frustration there as he starts to kick his legs, which is not at all a move we've ever studied, but it was funny, and we're both smiling when we get up. Now we're going to start and shake hands again, remind each other that we're training as friends, and we're going to see what happens. He immediately aggresses. He starts to walk to the side because I give him the turtle position. He holds the belt there, and I think his idea is going to be to drag me to my right, and yep, there it is. He's going to drag me to the side. It's a telegraphed move, so I'm just going to stay heavy on him, let him walk to the side. We haven't studied much here from the side mount except the position, so when he sits for this armbar, he forgets that he has to have the left leg over my body, and because he wasn't holding my body down with that leg, it was very easy for me to sit up to my knees when he sat back for the armbar. He's trying to throw the leg over the face, not understanding that in this position, to secure the armbar properly, he would have to go to a full belly down position, and he'd have to also use that left leg that I'm holding and stuffing. Because he gave me that left leg, when he pulled it free, I immediately switched to the right leg, and since we're escalating here, I'm going to do a very, higher level belt submission on him, a toe lock, a toe hold foot lock. I expose the white belts that we train with to everything. We are very careful with the advanced submission so that nobody gets hurt, but it's important that they know what's coming so that later on when they see these new movements, they're not a surprise to them. Here you saw Chris was very frustrated at the end. He slapped the mat very hard when he tapped to the footlock, and he immediately does almost like a tackle movement and forces me to go to my guard. This is for him a reminder that the aggression at that level doesn't work against an experienced person, and also a reminder for me what it means to deal with a very strong and aggressive, skilled athletic person like Chris is. So I immediately fall to the guard, and you saw I put the frame in, and now I'm just making it really impossible for him to pass the guard. I want to see that he starts to respond not to the aggression I'm giving him and the pressure I'm giving him, but that he starts to work the posture, starts to put the knees on the ground, walk the hips in, get the head high, and keep me down and isolate my hips. But he is responding to the aggression I'm giving him. The difference here is that because I have a certain skill level that he has not risen to yet, I'm able to use aggression and combine it with skill to make this a very dangerous situation for him. And right now I've managed to move to the side, and I'm looking the entire time how I'm going to feed his collar around the front of his neck. There, finally I get the hip position to be able to switch to that. Quick tap, and that's the end of the roll. He did a great job.